Welcome to the West Ham Voice. Good evening to you on a Sunday evening. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're not all too disappointed with the result against Manchester City, who are, with all intents and purposes, probably the best team in Europe, certainly the best team in the Premier League, and probably the best domestic team in world football at the moment. You can't fault them for what they do. 3 wins in a row. They just seem to be capable of beating anybody. It doesn't matter who you put in front of them. They seem capable. But West Ham United, I think, have got to take a lot of pride in the way we performed against Manchester City on Saturday. All right, the record books will show that it was another home defeat. That's 2 home defeats in the Premier League so far. Not a great start. But all right, we've had one away win against Crystal Palace, and many of us thought we might come away with maybe only a point there. And of course, we had that kind of lucky win in the Carabao Cup against Bournemouth. But the record books are not kind, are they? They're not going to demonstrate that we actually had a really decent second half performance against Manchester City, and that we almost came close to equalising with the Kudus strike that hit the crossbar, and it could have been a different game after that. But errors cost, and they cost us again in this game, and it's something that we just can't seem to eradicate from our performances at the moment. Look, if you're new to the channel, please do hit that like button. Please do become a subscriber of the channel. Costs nothing to subscribe. All the content is free, and it would be great for you to join the West Ham Voice as a subscriber. So before the game, we were introduced to Carlos Soler, who was our latest signing. And now that the transfer window's closed, people are speculating, well, that's it, isn't it? Maybe there are no more signings to be had, no more players to leave. But we can still get free signings, and players can still leave for other markets, other leagues where the transfer window is still open. But I'm going to talk about that in a separate video that will go out probably on Monday morning. So Carlos Soler was introduced, and I think that's good. He's going to offer us something different in the middle of the park. And I'm going to talk about him in terms of what impact he could have, and who might have to make way for him in the starting 11 once that player is up to speed. We also bid farewell to a warm tribute to Sven-Göran Eriksson before the game, fitting tribute to him as well. So what about the game itself? Look, we started off really brightly. One can't argue how well we started. We were on it. We're on the front foot. We gave them problems up in their defence. But of course, they don't need an invitation to punish any teams. And a costly error from Emerson, where he passed the ball to Lucas Paqueta, but it was a bit too far away from him. And Man City pounced on it into Haaland, and he needs no invitation to score. And almost, I know it sounds a little bit ironic, but almost against the run of play in the first, 10, 15 minutes or so, Manchester City were 1-0 up, and we were already chasing the game. Emerson had a quiet game. He had not one of his best games, to be honest with you. And it's a shame. And of course, he got taken off later on in the game itself. But to show how good we are, we're improving. We didn't take long for us to get back in it with really good build-up play, where Jared Bowen got the ball. And okay, it took a lucky deflection, but you've got to create your chances, haven't you, in this league? And we did just that. And great effort from the team. Really good build-up play. Great effort from Bowen to get us back in the game. But of course, their second goal was class. And you've got to be honest, Haaland, he showed what difference a really good striker makes to a team. They're not a one-man show. They got class across the whole of the Manchester City team. But doesn't it help when you've got a striker who is instinctive? He knows how to create space. He knows how to move into dangerous areas. He can score goals with his head. He can score goal with either foot. He just knows he's an instinctive striker. And I just hope that's not something that we're going to regret come the end of this season, that we didn't go out and buy ourselves a class striker. Now, look, class strikers are few and far between, to be honest with you. There aren't that many of them about, and they do cost a pretty packet. But Haaland definitely demonstrated the value that he has to Manchester City, and he made us pay in the way that he finished his goals. Look, we've got Fulkrug, and I still hold up a lot of hope for Fulkrug. You know, the irony is last season, it wasn't that we were incapable of scoring goals. We were scoring goals for fun. It was just that we were letting in too many. But at this moment in time, when Fulkrug comes on, we're not playing to his strengths. And I guess that's a little bit frustrating for the fans and a little bit frustrating for Fulkrug as well. And I understand why we have Antonio starting to lead the line, but he can't lead the line. And I don't want to knock Antonio because he's been a great servant to West Ham United, our Premier League top goal scorer, etc., etc. But we need, when you look at Haaland and when you look at the likes of Fulkrug and Antonio, etc., you just can see the wealth of difference between those players. But there were some good things. There was some. I mean, we got back in it, which was good. Our second half was a really good performance. We hit the bar with when it was 2-1, and if that shot had gone in from Kudus, who knows how it could have ended. So we gave them a game, and we had some really decent performances for example, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Not only did he play superbly on the right side, but when Emerson came off later in the game and he went over to the left, he had an equally really good game on the left side as well, and threatened Manchester City out on the left too. So that was good to see. Alphonse Areola, we believe he's got a minor back injury. I think it must have been when he pulled off that great save, and he sort of ended up inside the goal, and he must have just hurt his back a little bit. But we don't believe that's going to be too much of an issue, and we're kind of hoping. We've got an international break now, which is a really good time, and so we're hoping that when we play Fulham in 2 weeks' time, that Areola will be back. But Areola was superb. Some fantastic saves that he pulled off for us. So he was good. Lucas Paqueta, unfortunately, is still not at his best. And we're just beginning to wonder now when Lucas Paqueta is going to be back at his best, because we're seeing glimpses of Paqueta, and I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, as I did the post-match review on Saturday evening, that he's not up to match fitness just yet. But he's not at it. You know, I said this when I was doing a comparison of Paqueta and Souček. Paqueta gives the ball away almost as much, if not more, often than Souček does. But we seem to be a little bit forgiving of Paqueta because we know he can pull off a world-class pass. But we haven't seen a world-class pass of him for some time. He did really well in pre-season, but I think his best game was the Betway Cup when he played in that kind of number 10 role. But we haven't seen anything like that since, and it's a little bit worrying. And I think when you think about Soler coming in, I've said this a few times now, with Carlos Soler, someone's going to have to make way in the starting 11. And it kind of wouldn't surprise me if when Carlos Soler is up to full match fitness, that it might just be Lucas Paqueta that might give way. I'm going to show you a few team selection options in a moment, and you can judge for yourself what you think might happen. And then the other concern I have is Kudus. Now, look, you put Kudus anywhere on the pitch and he looks fantastic. And it's not that he's having bad games when he's chosen to play out left. I mean, he's still dangerous. I mean, the shot that he took was from the left side, which hit the bar. But we know how much more damage he can do when he plays out on the right side or when he plays in the middle. And Lopetegui is going to have to do something soon in order. Kudus doesn't look happy at the moment. I'm not suggesting for a minute that he's going to throw his toys out the pram, because I think he's a professional. But you can see he doesn't look that enamored by being out on the left. And he still puts in an effort. He still puts in a shift. But every time he's moved out to the right side, which has happened a couple of times when Bowen has been subbed, he looks a lot happier out on the right side. It's his much more natural game where because he can cut in and use his left foot to take a shot on target. Or, as the Ghanaians will tell us, he's even better if he's played in the middle. Look, the game overall against Man City, I'm not too disappointed because I think we put in good effort. Yes, we were under the cosh a few times throughout the game. Yes, I know we didn't have as much possession. I think we had something like 33% possession to Manchester City 77, something like that. But you're going to expect that. You're going to expect not to have the ball when Man City are playing you for long periods of time. It's what you do with the ball. I've always said this, even during Moyes' era. It's what you do with the ball that's important. It doesn't matter how much possession you have of it. Of course, we would like more possession, and I think that will come. I think when we play maybe Fulham, I mean, no disrespect to them, when we play Fulham in a few weeks' time, I think we'll see a lot more possession, a ball possession by West Ham, even though we're playing away. We did that against Crystal Palace. We had more ball possession against every team we played against, apart from Manchester City. But it's the selection and it's the formation that I'm kind of getting a little bit concerned about. And overall, the game against City, I think, was good. I think that the result doesn't reflect our performance, especially the second half. I think there's a lot of positives to take. And you look at social media, etc., and other YouTube channels and so on, and everyone is saying much the same thing. There aren't a lot of fan bases out there that are suggesting that it's been poor, because it hasn't been. And we gave Manchester City food for thought, and they had to bring defensive substitutes on in order to counteract what we were doing. So they saw that we were at it and maybe trying to get on the front foot. So I'm not too disappointed with the performance, but of course, as I've said at the beginning, the record books will show it's the second defeat in the Premier League so far this season. So what can West Ham do? Now, this is the squad we've got, and there are still a couple of question marks. And I know there's an awful lot of talk about maybe getting a few players in, freebies and so on, and maybe Danny Ings could leave and so on. I got a text message earlier this afternoon saying Danny Ings is going nowhere. He's happy at West Ham United. And why should he leave? Why should Danny Ings leave? He's on a good salary. He knows that he sees out the final year of his contract. He can walk into another club if there's another club that will go for him, and he might get, at the age, he'll be 33 by the time the next season starts, or thereabouts, and he can get himself a lucrative signing on fee. It could be the last big pay that he'll get. He may not necessarily get as much money as he is at West Ham, but he'll get a signing on fee. He could sign for maybe a Burnley or a Leeds United, etc. The final result: Manchester City 0, Liverpool 3 away from home. Oh, well, unlucky Man United. Sorry, did I say Man City? I meant Man United. Man United 0, Liverpool 3. Anyway, I'll carry on with this. We've got a couple of places, and Lopetegui has said he wants two players for every area. There is a question mark over maybe getting another centre-back. There is a good shout to get another striker in. I don't think we'll get another striker in, to be quite honest with you. I think we might concentrate on looking at getting another central defender. Now, why won't we get another striker in? Well, we've got options with the players that we've got. We've got 22 senior players in the squad at this moment in time because, of course, Luis Guilherme doesn't have to be named in the senior squad. So 22 senior players at this moment in time. We could go with a 4-1-4-1 formation. I mean, I'm being unkind to Rodriguez. I don't think he's had a bad game, but maybe you could have someone as Alvarez being the pivot. I'm kind of going with this is when all players are fully match fit. With Areola in goal, Wan-Bissaka on the right. I think Todibo will eventually come into this team because, again, unfortunately, Mavropanos for the third goal, for example, against Man City, there was a 50-50. And unfortunately, he seemed to just pull out, which allowed, I don't know who it was he was competing against, but that player got the ball and fed it to Haaland, and Haaland went on and scored. So I think over time, I think Todibo will come in alongside Kilman. And then you'll have Emerson at left back. You have Wan-Bissaka on the right. You could have Alvarez as the pivot in the middle for certain games. And then you could have a front four of a front attacking midfield four of Bowen, Soler, Paqueta, and Kudus. But again, Kudus out on the left. And I think eventually Fulkrug will start to become our main selection up front. You could go with something different at this moment in time, because I am worried about Kudus playing out on the on the left hand side. You could decide to actually go with Jared Bowen up front. I haven't changed the rest of the team apart from bringing in Somerville on the left hand side and putting Kudus out on the right again with Soler and Paquetá supporting Bowen in the middle. And I would advocate that. Another 4-1-4, and I would advocate something like that. I think, I think it could work. I think Bowen is decent up front, and he could make full use of that kind of position where you'll have people like Fulkrug and Antonio on the bench to come on and support if need be. You can go with a 4-3-3 where you can go with a main striker, but bring Kudus a lot closer and bring Bowen a lot closer to that striker, much more supportive. So it doesn't feel as if Kudus is hugging the touchline. So bringing Kudus and Bowen a lot closer, having a 4 at the back and maybe a 3 in midfield. I've gone with Soler, Alvarez, and Paqueta, but you can change that as well. But up front, to give Kudus that bit more flexibility, so to speak, maybe a lot closer as a 4-3-3. Or you can go with a 3-5-2, 3-5-1-1, where you go with three wing backs. You can put either Alvarez or Mavropanos back there alongside Kilman and Todibo. Wan-Bissaka and Emerson as wing backs would work perfectly. And then you can put Kudus in the middle alongside Soler, alongside Paqueta, or alongside Rodriguez. It doesn't matter. You take your pick, but maybe Kudus in the middle and then someone like Bowen supporting a front man. I think we've got to do something. Now, my gut tells me that it probably won't be Soler and Paqueta in the same starting lineup, just as much as it won't always be Alvarez and Rodriguez in the same starting lineup. I think sometimes you'll see a pivot like we did against Manchester City, where you'll have Rodriguez and Alvarez. You might get that against the likes of Liverpool, against the likes of Chelsea, maybe something like that. But in other games, when we believe that we might have a bit more flexibility, a bit more freedom in the park, you might see Paqueta and Soler in the same lineup. It's going to be interesting. It will give us options, but at this moment in time, I want to see Lopetegui do something with Kudus. I want to see Lopetegui either put Kudus on the right or put him in the middle, and then if it means having to drop one of our other players to accommodate that, then let's do that. And like I said, it wouldn't bother me at all if we saw Bowen leading the line. Put Bowen up front, put Kudus on the right, and maybe Somerville out on the left, or even Paqueta out on the left. He can kind of do that. He's got a good understanding with Emerson. It's interesting when Paqueta doesn't have a good game, Emerson doesn't seem to have a good game either. They've got that understanding. You could play Paqueta slightly out on the left and then accommodate Kudus out on the right and maybe Bowen in the middle. Something's got to happen there because on paper, it's balanced. Kudus left-footed. It makes a lot of sense. Put him out on the left. But I think we'll get better from him if he's played in a different position. Tell me what you think. Please leave your comments about, where should players be positioned, who should be in the starting 11, who should be dropped, what you think of Paqueta, what you think of Kudus, and what you think of Soler. Do you think that he's coming in order to compete against Paqueta, or are they going to line up in the same 11? Just a reflection, really. The game itself, I'm not too disappointed. Very disappointed in the result, but we go on from here. Such a shame that we've now got an international break, but let's see what we're going to do when we come back in 2 weeks' time against Fulham. Thank you for watching. Do hit the like button. Do become a subscriber, and I'll see you all soon.